So this program showing how you scanner to read from the file, right? And the standard char set is not necessary, okay, like I shown you last time, right? So if you run this, it still work. It just read in and change to the UTF, right? Instead. Now, if you use the delimiters instead of patterns as a string, it still work too. Okay. But the pattern is just like I said, we gotta use like, let's talk about regular expression. We gotta use for example, how do you validate that a password has to have one lowercase, one uppercase, one special characters, one numbers, things like that. Okay, that's regular expressions. Which we'll continue to talk about that in the following sections. So now, like instead of reading from the file, you could do from the system, right, .in. This is going to be from the keyboard now, right? Which you no longer need the file, right? Which I can just commenting out or delete it from the program. Still use the delimiters, but now you pretty much just need to prompt the user to enter. Otherwise, if you run the program, it's going to be blank and waiting for the user to enter. Which, if I enter 3 numbers, now looks like it's waiting for me. Okay, let's run again. Let's say if I enter 3 numbers, right? Let me just copy and paste. Okay, enter 3 numbers. Alright, so we get some errors here. Input mismatch exception. So it starts to read in. Now let me introduce you to the problem. Is actually occur from line 26, right? I'm going to introduce you to sometime when you run into this issue, you don't know how to fix the problem. We can use debuggers. Okay, that is the debug, like debug icon here. We call debuggers. So to use this, you right click and put a toggle point to the location where we have the problems, like line 26. So what does it do? It's going to, when you run it, you just use debugger to run and pick the file name. It's going to change to the debugger perspective or the view, change the view. And now it's waiting for me to enter, right? 3 numbers, 123, comma. So it's going to read int, right? 124, 125. Now if I use the delimiter as the comma, it seems like it's looking for comma to stop it, right? Now it's changed to the debugger view, like I to tell you, right? Because the problem is right there, and I want to see what happens. It stopped right there. It's not executing after it's executing line 25. Which you see, this is showing the values num1 holding 123 as we expected, right? Because you read in and have num1 123, you can hover the mouse over and show num1 equals to 123. And num2 is 124, right? Because we use delimited by commas, so hover the mouse, you see 124. And of course we stop at that line, that's why num3 is still waiting. So if I want to proceed this, we can just step into, right? So it's going to start to do num3, which is 125. Hover the mouse. It's not done yet because it's not summing yet, but it's just give the values to all of them. it's not done because I have to do step in again. Now I get a sum which is 372. See that? So it looks good now. Then it should run the sum of, okay, of this 3 number is, and then done. So the issue that we have earlier, because when I do the input, the comma is the problem, right? So use the delimiter comma. When I omit the comma, then it's not stopping reading. That's why I have to put a comma again. Like if we try to rerun this without that last comma, enter. All right. So let me stop first. Let's rerun again. Okay, without. Now I still leave the toggle point for the debugger to show. All right, stop right there again, right? 123, 124, and waiting. So if I do that, okay, it's not reading in because it's still waiting for the comma to do the delimiter, right? So that's why it's not reading in. And see, it just stopped right there. I cannot do anything. It's still waiting. It's still waiting for me to input something. Because it's not executing this line yet because it's waiting for me to delimiter it. Now, when I do, if I don't do anything, it's still waiting because it's wait for the comma. If I put comma, enter, then it stop, right? Because waiting for comma to limit the reading. When it stop, do you see the problem, right? Let's see. If I keep doing that, it's actually start to run into problem, input mismatch. Why input mismatch? Because we use next in, we use next string. It take all the new line that I do enter all characters returns, right? As part of that last number. And it's not an integer anymore. It look at as like holding a string, right? So that's why there's an error input mismatch. So that's how we try to understand how program works. See that? And that's why the error is caused right there. So when you use debugger, you can use that to help, right, on solving your issues. Sometimes you get this type of issues. Now, how do we write a program without using the last comma then? So now what we're gonna do, we change this, right, from this to this pattern.compile, right? And we run the program and remove the toggle point by right click and click on toggle breakpoint. Just try to see if it's working. And now try to put the numbers. And without the last comma. It's still having the issue too, right? Let me try to run one more time to make sure with a debugger. Now I have to put a toggle point then. Toggle point should be right there, right? 1, 2, 3. Alright, so jump in, right? Jump in and read in the 123, 124 and waiting for that line. So do step in. It's read in. It's still waiting, right? Waiting for the comma. And once I get a comma in, there's a problem, right? The same problem, even I use pattern.compile, right? So now let's do again 123, 124, 25. But if I use comma, this time it should work. So that is a problem here. How do we get rid of the last comma delimiters? That is not happening when we did with a file, right? But it happens when we do with a keyboard input. Now for the class exercise 2.2, make sure you go use scanner to read from the keyboard, okay? And make sure you, when you enter from keyboard, you're not going to need that comma at the end, okay? Now currently we see that you have to have comma at the end in order to prevent that errors. But the question for this one is, you have to revise your program to make sure you don't have to enter comma at the end as to work. Okay.